Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now it is time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, Sarge.
I'm Sarge, I'm an alcoholic. This is great. This is great. It's like a press conference, isn't it? Yes, Tony? It's the only meeting in the United States of America that I'm aware of that has Tootsie Pops. I know. Where are the sugar people? Come on. That's where it all started for me, sugar. Twinkies, Ho-Hos, Devil Dogs, Ring Dings, Suzy Q's, Funny Bones, Yodels, Hostess Fruit Pies. It could be 107 degrees out and the filling of a Hostess Fruit Pie is still a chilly 39. This is a great place, man. We're in the basement of a church. This is how it's supposed to be. It's a little bit like hell. Look who's guarding the door. Isn't that great? Louis at the door.
Good evening, Mephistopheles. May I enter and get sober? Please admit me to your chamber. Show me who your winners are and let me sit with them. I will listen only briefly, and then I will get a Tootsie Pop and stare at women who have less than 7 days clean. I will give them their first sober orgasm. And then I will move on to the next booted trench. Because this is hell and I have my fill.
I should have stayed in California. But I moved away and now I'm only visiting. And John Feldman calls me every week and says, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? When are you coming back? We want you to come to Rodeo. We want you to come to Rodeo. We want you to come to Rodeo. Come to Rodeo. It's still hot. Come. You must come. I moved away because I wanted to stay sober and I wanted to be happy. And I'll explain that to you. You see, I am an entertainer, and this is not a live town, I've been told. This is a TV and film and music town. I make my money making old Jews laugh. I moved to Florida because at 47 years old, I still have 60 more years to be a young comedian. In this town, once you have more than 9 minutes of material, you're already fucking done, you know? When you have 7, everyone thinks you're going to be a star, and when you have 9 minutes, you're fucking done. Yeah, he's funny. Who else you got that doesn't have talent? I moved to Florida because that's where I got sober. That's where my life began. That's where my life re-began. That's where I found God. That's where I got clean. That's where the people who know me are. That's why I live there. I live there because the people who know me were there to surround me after a vicious, devastating divorce from my first wife. And I couldn't handle Hollywood anymore. I mean, I could handle the rejection on the studio lots. I couldn't handle it in my own house. And so I moved. I moved because I went to a men's retreat of sobriety. And the guy running the retreat was a Teamster named Tom M., who's got 39 years, wears a Teamster's jacket. He's the head of the local in Pittsburgh of the Iron Workers Union there. And you know what those guys are like. And the first line of the men's retreat was, if she ain't got God, you ain't got fucking shit. If she ain't got God, you ain't got shit. That was the mantra of the week. We spent, 4 or 5 days together, this retreat. And I thought about it, and, my wife, my first wife did not have God. And she had no idea what I was doing in the morning when I woke up before I peed and hit my knees. And pretended I was getting my wallet out from under the bed to remind myself to pray. She had no idea what I was doing. What are you doing? Why do you do that? Oh my God. I couldn't see the signs. Because I was blind with love, I was blind with passion, I was blind with, infatuation. So I just went right past the red flags and went right to the marriage part. And guess what? I learned my lesson a very expensive way. And I called my sponsor and I said, my wife has been sleeping and it's been upside down with everybody that's not me in Hollywood. And my sponsor said, help her pack. I love you, and hung up. I said, I'm sorry. I called him back. I said, I'm sorry. He says, are you helping her pack? I said, no. He says, call me when you've helped her pack. What? The fuck? Can't you give me something? Give me something! I'm devastated. I'm gonna go kill 3 people right now. I'm gonna be on like KCAL live at 5, There's gonna be a fucking hostile standoff in North Hollywood, And it's gonna be me, in like a welding helmet, screaming at the top of my lungs at a fucking intersection with an M16. You wanna fuck her? Fuck with me first, and it's gonna be like that. And he said, help her pack. So the guy in Florida said, if she ain't got God, I ain't got nothing. And the guy in LA told me, help her pack. I did both of those things because I've learned the only way you can actually live around here is if you take suggestions and you do what you're told. I've always been one of those people. And so I did it. I took suggestion and I did it. I did what I was told and I did it, And 19 days later, I met the woman of my dreams, and I'm married right now, and I have a 6-month-old son who looks like me, and I'm a father at 47, which means I'll be a Little League coach at 93. And it's okay, because God has a plan for me. I'm psyched about it. I'm a father. I wash bottles and change diapers, and it's helped me get rid of another addiction of mine, which was biting my nails. If you change diapers 7 times a day, you don't have any desire to just trim the edges for any reason at all. My life today is magical and fantastic and exploding with joy and fantasticness, and it's entirely because I have people in my life who are sober, who are winners in this program of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous and My life is full of those people. You know why? They know me. That's why I moved away from California. I mean, the people here know me, but I was in severe pain. I said, you know what? I don't care. God knows where I live. I'm moving. I'm gone. I'm going to go there. I'm going to just chill out for a while. I'm going to live in Florida. And plus, I built a house. I have a house. I built a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house with a pool and a little bit of property without even having any idea who would be living there with me. But I figured the voices would fill some of the rooms. And, so... I also need extra rooms for all the shit I've bought in sobriety that I don't need, but I have it anyway, because I like to buy stuff, because I have a disease of more, so I never stop getting things. Like if I find something in my size, which is a rare thing, because I'm huge, I buy 7 of them in every color, I'm into socks and shampoo and chewing gum. I am. I mean, if I had, 7 more hands, I'd be sucking 9 more Tootsie Pops, okay? I love Costco. Sometimes I go and I just pray in the aisle at Costco, because there's so much stuff that, olives and paper towels and dressings and, burlap bags of rice and flour and, The reason I'm like that is because I don't like running out of shit. I don't even believe that I was an alcoholic or a drug addict because I liked using those substances. It was because I would stock up, I would have an anxiety attack as I would cop. That was the whole point. I was terrified of running out. I never wanted to run out of stuff. I used to get diarrhea as the guy handed me the stuff, and I would slink away in New York, at the top of the escalators at Penn Station on 7th Avenue at the height of the rush hour where you got the best stuff of the day from the Colombian guy named Edgar. And I used to come with fresh hundreds. I had fresh hundreds because I'm Jewish. And and he would say, I'd say, how much you got? Just give it all to me. Just give it all to me. He'd go, perfect, I'm gone. And that was it. It was done. I bought him out at like 7:45. I don't want to get into all the drunk-a-log part because you've all had them. I mean, look at this. Look at this room. This is the dingiest, most dangerous room in Hollywood. Look at this. It's like everyone in here has died and come back to life. You know, I'm serious. Look at you. I mean, you know, you can't out war story the war story. Look at this. It's like everyone here has died. I mean, look at this guy's hair over here. If you look at Louis, you see what I mean? You look at Louis and you go, wow, that's some weird fucking hair. Then this guy walks in and Louis looks at him and goes, that's some weird fucking hair. You see what I mean? No matter how, see what I mean? Look at him. Go ahead, bro. You look like you were tortured and you left in the middle and said, I gotta go to a meeting. Like you were totally normal at one time at around 5 o'clock and someone said, look at your mom with a reverend, man. Tell you a quick story. One of the most amazing stories of my recovery comes to us courtesy of another member of the fellowship named Maurice L. It's the most amazing story, and it crystallizes and signifies and dedicates exactly what is magical about being in this room tonight and being in any room where we get together on any night. My friend lost his father in a mall. No, just kidding.
I was waiting next to the shoe store. Where did you go?
My friend lost his father. His father was murdered. I sound like Bill Curtis.
He was murdered.
In Toronto, Canada, a usually very happy town. But as Maurice's father made his way across the lobby of the posh hotel, evil waited for him behind the potted plant in the front of the doorway, you know. And so what happened was his old man loaned some guy some money, and he wanted the money back after 3 years of not getting paid back, and the guy just met him in the lobby of a hotel and shot him and killed him. And the guy was put in jail, and every 3 years my friend has to go back and proxy on behalf of his family to make sure the man doesn't get out of jail. And every 2.5 years he has an anxiety attack and loses all of the serenity he now has after about 15 years sober, 16, 17 years sober, you know, behind this activity that he must be part of or thought he must be part of every 3 years. And so every couple years he would start getting anxious and his whole world would go out the window, and then every 3 years he would go appear in court to make sure this guy stayed in prison forever. On one particular occasion when he was making his trip back to Los Angeles from Vancouver, he was on the plane, and as the plane backed out of the jetway, the plane started to go back into the jetway, and they connected the jetway back to the plane, and the door opened up, and a bunch of strangely dressed gentlemen came into the first class area of the plane and began to make their way to seats, and the last man through the door was the Dalai Lama. And so they all sat down, and then they closed the plane, and then they backed out, and they went underway. And Maurice thought, this is God, man. This is my higher power. I got to talk to him. I got to send him a note. I got to do something. So he wrote down what I just told you about his life, about his spirituality, about his serenity, about his dad, about him being in sobriety and recovery in AA, how many years he had, blah, 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 blah. He puts it on a note. He hands it to one of the entourage. The entourage member apparently gets it to the Dalai Lama, and 5 minutes later the gentleman comes over and says, the Dalai Lama will see you now. And he switches seats on the plane with him. And the Dalai Lama gets up and gets in the aisle and tells Maurice to sit by the window. And he sits on the aisle seat. And Maurice said he couldn't resist. He stuck his hand out and he said, hello, Dolly. True story. And the Dalai Lama actually said to him, I've never heard that before. And he sat with the Dalai Lama for 3.5 hours. And he told him the story I told you. And he asked the Dalai Lama, what do you think I should do? And the Dalai Lama told him, very plainly, to extricate himself from the system and to go back to being who he needs to be to take care of him and let the system take care of this guy, and not to appear in Toronto every 3 years, and to just let whatever was going to happen, happen, because as long as he continued to be part of keeping that gentleman in prison, he was going to continue to be in a sort of spiritual prison of his own. I said, wow, that's cool. So I'm at the light at La Brea and Sunset, you know, by the high school there, trying to make a left, which, you know, took 45 minutes. And And he's telling me this story, and I'm listening, and as I'm making the turn, he says, "What do you think I should do?" I said, "I'm sorry. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I think you should do? You just talked to the fucking Dalai Lama. You're asking me what I think? He's the spiritual leader of the friggin' planet." I'm in traffic in an SUV wishing everyone around me dead for all of creation. There's not a bit of spirituality in this car, in my body. My pee is acid rain right now because this guy in front of me will not go. Go! Will you friggin' go? And you want to know what I think? And simply put, Maurice said to me, and these were his exact words, he said, "Well, I know you. I don't fucking know the Dalai Lama." We know us. We know us. We know us. That's why we works here. That's what we is about here. That's why the first word of the first step is we. This is about we. Not the game console. We is what works here. We got me sober. We loved me before I could love myself. We did it. I didn't do anything on my own. What I did on my own was live in a crack Disneyland in a browned out apartment, nude. For some reason, for me, using and nudity were connected. It gave me easier access to the parts of my body that I needed to rub while I was high. Trousers are so pesky. Yeah. Sense of humor. The ability to look back and laugh. When you look like me, you have to look into a mirror and laugh every day. I'm not one of God's most delicious looking creatures. I'm black. I'm Jewish. Black part of me doesn't swim. The Jewish part only goes in up to here. But I couldn't resist. A little shtick for you, ladies and gentlemen, mixed in with your sobriety and your cream cheese and your Tootsie Pops and your chili. What's the chili about? You know what this meeting needs? We need fucking chili. You know, people haven't been coming to Rodeo as much since it's not Rodeo anymore. Let's start making chili and Tootsie Pops. Last Thursday of the month, we have a cook-off, you know. Get some people from Pomona who make chili and some people from Las Vegas to make chili. We just have a whole chili festival right here in the basement with God as the judge. If you're new and you're in this room and you're wondering how long halfway through is, there's a little piece in our literature about, you'll be amazed before we are halfway through. You will know a new freedom and a new happiness. You will not shut the door or wish to close the door on it, whatever the hell that is. You know, when is halfway through? Halfway through is every day. Halfway through is 1 o'clock. Halfway through is every day for me. I have the most awesome God, and I'll tell you why. Because I got sober one night, day after Christmas, 1990. It was December 26, 1990. I had a $350 a day crack habit and a bottle of Jack Daniels every day. I arrived on the steps of a treatment center in Delray Beach, Florida. There was a man in the doorway, about 6'6". His entire face was beard. His name was Mike. And Mike sounded like this. Swear to God, to this day. And I came up to the door and he said, "Are you an alcoholic?" And I said, "No, I'm a crack addict. I just drink to take the edge off." And he just went. right. And he says, how many drinks did you have on the plane? And I said, 11. And he went, right. He said, well, luckily you're not an alcoholic. I said, I'm not? That's such good news. He says, an alcoholic would have had 12 drinks. So we'll just get started on the crack then. And so then I said, right. And he said, if you mock me, your shit will be by the curb within a minute. Go in the other room and hit your knees and ask God to remove the obsession to drink and drug from your life. Hit your knees. So I went in the other room, as I was told, the first suggestion of the fellowship for me, of recovery, and I actually bent over and I hit my knees like this. And I'm patting my knees going, please remove the obsession. Please remove the obsession. Please remove the obsession. The next day I woke up and I didn't have the desire to use the way I'd been using. And you know how I was using, because you used like that, because you didn't get here, because you drank like Mike's Hard Lemonade too much. You know, there are some really low-bottom people in this room. I can see it. I can see it. You can smell it. And that was the last time I used. That was the day after Christmas 1990. One sincere prayer, one night, at one point. I was 360 pounds. I was using crack. They brought a doctor in, a Colombian doctor. Think about it. This is in Miami, right? So they bring a Colombian doctor in to look you over when you come into rehab. So I got there, and I'm 360 pounds. They told me to take off all my clothes and wait for the doctor. So there I am, you know, a human fucking mudslide, standing there. And this guy comes in like a smock with one of these leather straps with the silver disc and a flashlight. Like he's going mining, you know. Like I was expecting like a bunch of midgets with pickaxes to be behind him, you know. We're going into your ass. We're going to find gold. Da, 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 da. You know, I was like, oh my God, what's happening? So the guy comes over and he says, he has a folder with him. He says, open your mouth. So, I'm sorry? Open your mouth. Open you what? I'm a Jew. That's right. The only part I understood was Jew. He says, open your mouth. So then he came over with his thumb and he put it on my, you know, and he had the flashlight, and he had the disc, and he's looking, and he looked at my folder, and he looked at me, and he looked at my folder, and he looked at me, and he looked at my folder, and he looked up, and he said, "You're the fattest crack addict we have ever had in this place." He said, "I think maybe there's a problem with your cerebello." He said, you take the cracks? I said, yes, I take the cracks. He says, also, obviously, you eat too, because you're gigantic. So, how does this work? I said, well, I really don't eat that much. I said, I actually said this to him and it almost got me thrown out of rehab. I said, well, maybe it's high-calorie crack. You know, maybe it's got gluten and trans fats. Maybe it's one of these, like Wendy's crack. You know, like, anyhow. I had a sense of humor. I had a sense of humor then. I have a sense of humor now. Thank God. That's my gift. And my challenge to you is that each and every person in here from the 6th row back, because all these people are very smarmy and very jaded. Look at them. They're all like, But I'm talking about those of you back there, people who came in vans. Where are you? There they are. I'm joking. If you're new, I'm telling you something. If you have talent and you're sober and you have some ambition, there's no stopping you. There's no stopping you. If you have talent and you're sober and you have some ambition, I don't know anybody who's sober on any coast. And I've been sober in New York for a while. I was sober here for 10 years. I live in Florida. I got sober there. I travel the country. I don't know anybody that's sober and ambitious and has talent that isn't kicking it and doing huge. I started out as the guy bringing the carts in off the lot at Home Depot. I was the guy they put outside the store in an orange apron, 360 pounds, 104-degree hot sun, and I got fired 3 times, and then they rehired. I used to yell at the people who were using a cart that only had like one thing in the car. And that was when I was living in like a 7/10 house. Like, you know, they have halfway houses, quarter house, three-quarter houses. In Florida, they got 63, 58 houses. You know, like, I'm almost all the way back to being a complete asshole in society. You know, like I'm 80% of the way back. You know, and I'm like working at Home Depot, and there's a old guy, using the cart as like a walker, right? And I have like 8,000 carts, and I'm like, dude, it's a hammer. It's got a fucking handle. I gotta bring the car, and then the boss would come out. You're scaring the old folks. Calm down, I was walking 5 3/4 miles at 5 in the morning to my job every morning. I was willing. It's called the big W. You hear about honesty, open-minded, and willingness. You can't have the honesty and the open-mindedness unless you're first, in fact, willing. If you're not willing, you've got a lot more work to do. Willingness is one. It should be whoa, not how. And as far as I'm concerned, I was totally willing, but I wasn't honest yet, and I wasn't completely open-minded. I just took suggestions, and I was willing. That's all I had. I had a guy in my life who believed that I could get sober, and his name was Jerry. Jerry had one eye and had been a bank robber and an armored car robber and came from prison. Jerry died in October of this year, and 1,800 people showed up at a church to honor his memory because Jerry's phone was always open, Jerry's heart was always open, and Jerry was the kind of guy. Jerry had some sponsees, so, not like the guys out here who have like 400 sponsees mowing their lawn and doing that shit. I'm talking about... Do me a favor, blow me while he shines my shoes, would you please? Can you imagine? Somebody bring me chicken and a pregnant whore. I'm hungry, Then we'll work step 7, then and only then. Clean the windows of my condo with your tongue, you knave. Anyway, why aren't you wearing a tie while you filch me? Okay, have you ever? Only in Hollywood. Only in Hollywood do you have like... Anyway, Jerry told me, call me every day at 5:45. If you call me at 5:46, I probably won't answer the phone. And every day at 5:45, I call Jerry. 5:45, 5:45 on a payphone. When was the last time anybody in this room used a fucking payphone other than to get drugs out of the coin return, right? You don't use payphones? I had no money. I'm using a payphone. And I call him up and I go, Jerry, I'm the guy in the car. I got this great job. I'm the guy bringing the carts in off the lot at Home Depot. He'd say, great, your ego has a chance of being crushed. I love you. And then he'd hang up and then the money would drop. I'd slam the phone down because I didn't have enough money to put it in another. Because I was making $139 at Home Depot and I was paying $135 a week at the halfway house. And I was eating peanut butter and jelly out of the same jar with white bread. I mean, you can't stay fat on $3 a week. And I used to complain at men's meetings about how broke I was, and the guy said, faith comes when you have nothing else. But I'm broke. Great. It's a good opportunity for you to get in touch with some lint. I called Jerry and I told him I saw there was a woman at the store today. She's so hot. I was like, make ask her out. He says, have you seen yourself? I love you. Click. Well, you get the point. Jerry knew me. He knew exactly how to talk to me. Like we know us, he knew me. He knew me. He knew me. And when Jerry passed away this year, I asked my grant sponsor, Jerry's sponsor, to sponsor me. And he's a guy with like 39 years, and he's amazing. He doesn't say much. He doesn't talk much. He overstates the obvious a lot. And he's one of these guys. He's a brother. He says things like, I'll say, hey, yeah, so my baby was like, my wife, and we were having this thing over the dishes and everything. And he says, yeah, it goes like that sometimes. I love you, man. Click. Nothing. 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 But he does say one thing on an ongoing basis, which is kind of my mantra these days. It's beautiful. He says, if you ever hear me complaining, slap the motherfucking shit out of me. If you ever hear me complaining, slap the motherfucking shit out of me. Because I ain't got nothing to complain about today. It's all GIFT, pals. It's all GIFT. It's GIFT because I have a relationship with a higher power, and apparently he knows what he wants to do with me, and he does it all the time. He gives me places to go, people to see. It's amazing. I am my career, I am my life, I am my job, I am, I am my friend. I am, said I. I am. Little Neil Diamond for you. I'm here to give the new guy hope. Because I grew up and I was the fat guy. I had to fight because I could not run. You think you have social problems. I was a virgin until I got to college because I could not talk women. I was terrified of women. I believe I began drinking and drugging because of women. Because I love them all. All of them. Every single one of you. Fat ones, tall ones, skinny ones that need to have their roots done. Even the ones that, the ones that are like, I love them all, and I was terrified of you because I grew up in a very strange household where my mother was a fucking nightmare. I'm an only child. I was adopted. My birth mother was a Jewish girl who had sex with a black man, and in 1960 that was like, that just didn't happen. You didn't even talk to black people. You certainly didn't fuck them, and my mother was a grad student in Northwestern in Chicago, and apparently she had a very brief relationship with a man and so I was a disgrace. Before I was even born, I was a disgrace. I was shameful. The fact that I was even on the way was fucking frightening to people, Can you imagine? Today it's the coolest thing in the world. Find a hot black guy, fuck him, and then dump him. That's what people do today, but those days it wasn't done. And my mother went to Miami Beach, which is where all Jewish people go to leave stuff. And I was born there, and my parents, white people, had no idea that this woman had a black baby. They just adopted me because they, paid in advance, So, so. I was raised in a white family in a white neighborhood. I even thought I was white. Most of my, I even sound white. Whatever that means. And I only found out I was black when I was 40. I swear to God, I found my birth mother and I found out. And so can you imagine, I went through my entire life, I was a lie. I told people I was Cuban, Somalian for a while, because when in the early 60s, you couldn't be beige. You had to be either white or black or something. Even the Puerto Ricans wanted nothing to do with me. It was like I was in my own mulatto fucking exile, racially that was weird. But it just goes to show you God knows what he's doing. He knows us. He knows me. He turned me into someone who's a humorist, someone who could take the most dire circumstances and turn it into humor and laughter and fun and love and passion and excitement and a career and a life and responsibility and sobriety and a higher power. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Some people crumble under the weight of their own self, and some people flourish, and some people jam, and those are the people who find God. And I hear people that talk about, praying to bushes and railings and big trees, and sometimes it's just the back wheel of that motorcycle. What? Drop the rock. Are you kidding? Just try it. I have 7 sponsees. All of them are involved in some phase of step work. If you're not in step work, you have no shot. You gotta do them. This doesn't work for most of the people that come here, because most of the people that come here refuse to do the work. They love going to the meetings and hanging out and having breakfast and having coffee and calling somebody someone who they can call about their problems, and they love the social aspect. You got to do the work, and the work is not even work. It's fun. When you get it done, you don't have to do it for a little while maybe. But the bottom line is, I do it all the time because the phone rings every day. I have a life that's full of people that need to do the work. And I have to remind them to do, and some of them are in their 60s and some of them are in their 20s, and we do the work. The steps are magical. And there are people that will sit here and quote chapter and verse about the steps and about the traditions and about the 12 concepts of service. I mean, my thing on my given evening is to bring humor and joy and passion, excitement, inspiration. That's why I'm on this planet. I'm on this planet to do that in this room. I'm on this planet to do it outside of this room. It doesn't matter if I'm in Florida or Idaho or in a fantastic church basement at one of the coolest meetings in Los Angeles. I mean, it doesn't matter. I know what my purpose is. I know what my God has in store for me. I know that I'm a vessel through which He works, and He has given me gifts so that I could share them with people, because if I don't share them, I end up on a couch naked with a cracked stem in one hand and my stem in the other. Trust and faith, man. If you have nothing right now, you have my respect. Because if you have nothing right now, you have a chance to find God, you have a chance to find faith. I don't need anything that my God doesn't have for me. Anything I want, anything I think I need, sends me back to being who I was before I got here, who I thought you wanted me to be, who I thought I wanted me to be, who I thought I was, who I thought I was going to be. And finally, after a number of years of praying and meditating and traveling and going to meetings and talking to sponsees and talking to you and listening, I am who I'm supposed to be. I am me. And who you're hearing tonight and who you're seeing tonight is me. For me, that's a miracle. I have no fear of you. I have no fear of standing here. I have no fear of sharing of myself, because I know my life depends upon my ability to inspire and share as much and as often as I can. And if you're somebody who's sitting out there tonight who hasn't ever shared before, I suggest you start raising your hand, because you might be that guy. You might be that guy. It's a miracle. It's a miracle that this many people are about changing themselves and about dedication to change and about the passion that is recovery if you find God, if you clean house, and if you stay with the people that are here, because we know us. Only us know us. It's unbelievable. I'll give you an example. I get in trouble all the time. My parents moved to Florida when the baby was about to be born. But essentially, my parents are in their 80s, and they moved closer to their parents. And within 3 hours of moving, I told my parents, listen, I'm having the baby, I've got a very busy schedule, and I know you're in your 80s now, and you begin to fall at this point. If you know, anybody who's Jewish who has parents know that after 75, they start falling all the time. Your father fell, Is everything all right? Everything's fine. Your father fell. He had an aneurysm. That's all right. We were up for 6 days at the hospital. He might not live. It's okay. Go back to your little comedy world. It's fine, So now that I have a baby and a wife I had a baby on the way, I said, Mom, could you move to Florida? At least if you live close by, I can get, I can lose my self-esteem in an instant from a mile away instead of over the fucking phone, So they moved down, and within 3 hours, my mother fell and broke her hip. My father's already in a wheelchair. He's 84, right? He's not even crippled. He's just fucking lazy. So... And my mother breaks her hip, which I found out later is a state law in Florida. You have to break your hip within 3 hours of coming into the state of Florida. So, it's unbelievable. So now my mother's in the hospital, and she needs a private room. That's all she's shouting while they're shooting morphine into her fucking eye. She's yelling, I need a private room. It's got to be private. I don't want to hear someone else moaning. I want to recover in private. So all right, I'll get a private room. Just shut up. I'm never in a hospital. I won't even go to the doctor. At gunpoint, I won't even go to a doctor. After this guy going, George, I won't go, So now I'm there, and they said, well, a very nice woman, not Jewish, some other sect, says, we have a private room in the ICU. So I said, then put her there so she'll shut the fuck up. So they put her there. They put her in the ICU, right? So now I'm going to go get my father to bring to my mother. You know, I'm being a son, which I never would. I hate them both. And I'm like doing all this shit, you know. So I got to dress my father and feed him and do all this shit, right? I finally get him in his wheelchair and I roll him like 15 miles from the front of the hospital to my mother's room. I lock the wheels. I said, all right, listen, I'm out of here. You guys, you know, do whatever the fuck you've been doing for 54 years and I'm gone, you know. So my mother is in half a coma, and she sits up and she goes, he's wearing 2 different fucking socks. I said, well, I had to dress him. I had to dress him. He's a pain in the ass, you know. So I dressed him. So with that, a woman comes in and says, can you please take the gentleman out of here? Visiting hours are over. I said, I just got here. Can't I leave him here? They're better together. She'll recover faster. You'll have her out of here sooner if you just leave him. So she said, you can't leave him. I said, why not? She goes, well, what if something happens to him? I said, he's fucking 84. He's Jewish. He's married to that. It already fucking happened. So the woman goes, security. Now I'm sober. There wasn't a bit of prayer about me, serenity. There wasn't any me thinking about, you know, how to handle this the right way, you know. I got 18 years and I had like no time right there. So the woman says to me, you have to take him now. You have to take him. I said, what, why? What is the reason why? Can't he just shut the fucking door and let him sit here? I don't want to take him home. I don't ever want to see him undressed again for the rest of my life. He's 84. So the woman says, well, what if he has a heart attack? I said, we're in the fucking ICU. Wouldn't this be a good place for his fucking heart to rip open? Right here in this room. This is the best place on earth. So she says, I'm sorry. She goes, I'm sorry. I said, so now I'm in like full, you know, like rage mode. And I said to her, this is what got me taken out of the hospital. I said, oh, so let me see if I understand this correctly. I'm on fire at a firehouse and they won't fucking put me out. Is that it? What? There's no hose? What's the problem? You know? So I said to the head nurse, who then came in, who wasn't giving head at the time, I said, you know what I'm gonna do? With my teeth clenched. There wasn't a bit of sobriety about me, God about me. I said, I'm gonna take him in the parking lot, I'm gonna beat the shit out of him, and wheel him into the lobby and leave him there. Then you have to take him. Well, my father is laughing at this point so hard, I thought he was going to have a heart attack right there. And I took him out. The point is, find your gift. I'll tell you what, I make my living telling stories. I do it in the most obscure places. I don't have the gift of fame. I don't have the gift of immense wealth. I have a God that knows me. I have people in recovery that know me. Let your God know you. Stop hiding from your higher power. Stop hiding from the people in the rooms who will know you and help you and carry you and love you. Stop hiding. Come out, wherever you are. Because the GIFT guys, this is my gift. He has things happen in my life that give me the ability to take those things that happen and turn them into gold, like tonight. He gives me stories, he gives me life, he gives me perspective. My higher power gives me history. He gives me that. Let your higher power know you the way we know you. Let us know you, you know. And thank you for listening. Thank you for laughing. Thank you for loving. Thank you for having me. Thank you for recording this, because this was one of the top 6,000 or 7,000 nights of my life. I love you all. God bless. Thank you so much.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.